Hello! Welcome to the Rotten Horror Picture Show, the horror movie podcast where we talk about films off the Rotten Tomatoes 200 Best Horror Movies of All Time list. My name is Clay. With me, as always, is Amanda. How are you doing, Amanda?
I'm good. I'm here with all of my spare faces and my different hairstyles, and I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Yeah. That's what they mean when they say, I can't go out till I put my face on?
Yeah. Yeah.
Excellent.
It's just you got to choose which face.
Yes.
Yeah. You got like lots of options.
Does that happen in Return to Oz?
I have never seen that.
Really?
Yeah.
How did you make it through your childhood unscathed by not being scarred by Return to Oz?
Because my mother was scarred by regular The Wizard of Oz.
Oh,
and
interesting.
so it was a little bit verboten in my house.
Why? Let's get into this. I know she's a listener, so let's break this open.
No, I think she just saw it when she was really, really little, and like it freaked her out. You know, the witch freaked her out, and the tornado, and all of that. Okay. And it was her older sister, my aunt's favorite movie. So of course, my aunt was like, "Ha ha! You're gonna have to watch The Wizard of Oz again because I love it." Yeah. And my mother was like, I don't want to do this anymore." So she was not a fan.
It was the monkeys for me. I didn't.
Oh, maybe
monkeys
it was that for her. I
out.
wonder if that affected her too.
Yeah, and I also I never liked the scene where they fall asleep.
There's a lot of like if
I don't know
you
why
watch
that creeped me
movie,
out,
it's a creepy movie.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But this is not that
this
movie.
This is not. Well, I was going to say as I was looking stuff up tonight, I was looking up our list so I could find what our next film was going to be after this. And for the first time, I don't know how I've never come across this before, I came across a Reddit thread called, "Can we talk about the Rotten Tomatoes 200 Best Horror Movie Rankings? I couldn't make a worse list if I tried."
Wow, nice.
So, head over to the horror subreddit and tell everyone there about us covering the movies on this said list.
And complaining constantly about said list.
Yes, yes. But today we are not doing a movie on the list.
Because it's horrible.
Because
kidding.
Because the list is the movie or the list.
The list.
Okay.
That's what the joke was. The Reddit thread.
I see.
There we go.
Okay. I'm not going to have this tourist trap slander on my show.
No, I didn't.
We are covering we're moving our wild card up. We are doing a movie called Tourist Trap from 1979. Why are we moving our wild card up? This is only the second movie in our grouping. Well, because what we are doing on Patreon this year at patreon.com/thepenskyfile is Amanda and I are covering reboots and remakes. And the first one we are doing is 2005's House of Wax.
Yes.
Now, I wanted to make sure that we watched House of Wax, obviously, before we did the remake.
Yes.
And why did I make us watch Tourist Trap? Well, you're just going to have to listen to the episode when we cover House of Wax, the remake, to find out. Anyway, This is Tourist Trap from 1979. It is not on our list. It has a 40% Rotten Tomatoes score with a 47% audience score. That's, okay. Come on. Had you seen this before?
I had not. I had seen many, many stills and clips of it, but I had never actually sat down and watched this movie.
Yeah. This is one for me that I've been waiting to do for a long time. Because, as I've said many times, you watch enough of these things, the gems get harder and harder to find.
Yeah.
And I don't even remember how I came across this movie.
Those are always kind of fun. The ones that just like somehow appeared in your life and you don't have a direct, like, my friend made me watch this or I saw it in the theaters. Just like, I just feel like this has always been somehow present.
I know that they covered it on the original marathon on the last drive-in. But I had already seen it by that point.
Didn't like Riff Tracks do a version of it too?
Yeah, those people are worthless. Yeah, I honestly cannot remember how I came across this.
Yeah. But
I am glad that I did because when I watched it, I was very much taken aback by this really weirdo movie.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe... Did I watch it because I don't know. Anyway, it's a mystery. No. Science is a mystery to man.
How old do you think you were?
No, this was like within the last 10 years.
Okay.
Like I had never heard
as
of
an
this.
adult.
Yes.
You came across this. Yeah. Because I could see watching this as a child and being terrified of store mannequins for the rest of your life.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is definitely one that could do. This movie's rated PG, which I think is very funny.
Wow.
Yeah, because there was no PG-13. And
wow.
Even by those standards, it's surprising that it's a PG.
Yeah, like I understand logically, but having just watched it, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine like a parent who took their 10-year-old to see this?
No. Although I've been going to the movies a decent amount lately. And
Bringing any 10-year-old off the street that you see?
Well, only for the R-rated movies.
Got it.
But I have been shocked at how many people I have seen bringing young children into movies they should not be at.
Yeah.
Like we went to see the re-release of Seven. I'm pretty sure that there was a family with like early teens kids there.
I use that movie on flights to drive people with children away from my seat. I'm not joking.
Great.
It's a perfect little kid keeps kicking the back of your seat or coming and hanging out in the aisle next to you. Just put on Seven. The parent will scoop them up.
Learn about gluttony, kid.
The parent will scoop them up and they will disappear for the rest of your flight time.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. But I went to see, I think I mentioned this before, but I went to see Joker 2. And there was a family with a small child there. And the small child was on an iPad without headphones for the entire movie.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Back row. But that was almost worse because it was just like, you could just kind of hear it in the background throughout the whole movie.
Oh, my God. Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't remember how I saw this. I don't remember where I heard about it. But it is one where I saw it and I was very glad that I had come across it because it is a strange little film that we are going to get into after we watch the trailer or listen to the trailer rather.
Every year, hundreds of young people travel the country and disappear. God help those who get caught in the tourist trap. Tourist trap, where beautiful young people looking for excitement are tricked, terrorized, trapped. Let go! Tourist trap. Shock you can see. Terror you can feel. Heart-stopping suspense that makes this the nightmare that never ends. Something crazy's going on at the tourist trap.
Okay, Tourist Trap. Directed by David Schmeller, written by David Schmeller and J. Larry Carroll. I didn't realize this was a full moon movie. I didn't realize they were around in the 70s.
Yeah.
Full Moon, of course, being the production company that brought us Puppet Master and most of Stuart Gordon's post-Reanimator films. I don't think Reanimator itself is a full moon movie, but it has a lot of full moon people involved on it.
Heavily influenced, yeah.
Yeah, but like I think Castle Freak's a full moon movie. There's another one though that I'm really looking forward to doing sometime when we get a chance to do it, called Dolls, which is a Stuart Gordon full moon movie, which is pretty fun. But anyway, and it stars Chuck Connors, Jocelyn Jones, John Van Ness, Robin Sherwood, Midge Pinciotti from that 70s show. Sorry. Midge Pinciotti from that 70s show, and apparently a ton of cocaine. Apparently, like,
okay,
Chuck Connors apparently gacked out to the gills.
I mean,
along with everybody else.
It worked.
And one of the people who worked on the film said they were walking through the set and they got hit in the head with a bag of cocaine that fell out of the cameraman's pocket when they were up on the thing. So everybody's having a good time on this movie.
All right.
Amanda, well, and you can't tell. Like, this movie is a movie where you go, I don't think cocaine was involved in the creation of this film. Amanda, what happens in Tourist Trap?
A group of stranded teenagers falls prey to the demented owner of a roadside museum and his army of evil mannequins.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's without the drugs.
Yeah.
That's before
just
the drugs
plot
even kick
of
in.
The movie.
Yeah.
Well, Clay, some things you'll find in Tourist Trap include my cousin Vinny levels of tire recognition.
Yeah. In movies like this, you gotta.
Hey, look, it's Woody's tire.
Yeah, you gotta cut people some slack storytelling wise, and so if you need someone who is not from the car that needed to have the tire replaced, recognize the tire to get you somewhere.
Yep.
Sure.
She can't fix a car, but she knows every tire she's ever seen.
Exactly.
A killer who loves a costume change / the only contender against Leatherface in a Who Wore It Best contest.
Yes, a lot of wigs.
Yes.
Davy, is it Davy? I guess it's Davy.
Yeah. We can shorthand the killer to Davy.
Apparently,
think so.
on the production, they referred to him as Plasterface.
So all right, Davy's eeasier.
Davy, yeah.
One of the most upsetting sexual assault scenes I've ever seen.
Yeah. He stops short of the assault, though, right?
I mean, I think forcibly groping and making out with somebody is an assault.
Not where I grew up, Amanda.
I didn't say rape. I said assault.
I know, I'm kidding.
Parentheses, all dolls laughing, which is something my subtitles kept giving me throughout this movie. It just kept saying all dolls laughing, and I love it.
Great album title.
Absolutely. A serious misunderstanding of the law.
Yeah. I forget what exactly. I know.
He says the law says a man has a right to kill his wife if he finds her cheating on him.
Yes. Interesting stand your ground laws.
Yeah, in wherever they are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And highway-based horror motivations.
Yeah, one of the many things ripped off from other movies.
Yes.
I believe the line is taken verbatim from Psycho.
Then the government.
Yeah, because that's the same thing.
The highway through.
Yeah, nobody goes to the motel anymore. Anyway, so Tourist Trap. This is one of these. So 1979 is an interesting time for this to come out. It is the year after Halloween. It is the same year as Friday the 13th. And both of those movies anyway, are, I'm going to generously say, pastiches of other films. Friday the 13th is probably a bit more original, I guess. But this one is like... This is one of those movies that it's a pastiche of like 4 other movies.
Yes.
That somehow they managed to put these together, and I think it works beautifully. And I'm going to put beautifully in quotation marks.
For a given value of beauty. Yeah.
Yes. I really enjoy this movie.
I can tell you. You seem very enthused about this.
Yeah. When I first watched this movie, the first scene with Woody, I was like, "Oh, interesting. Tourist trap. Okay, sure." Things coming out. Wait, why are there glass bottles and pipes and he's got telekinesis? Yeah. Which never gets explained.
Yeah, yep.
It's just part of the killer's thing is not only is he a psycho. How would you describe that projection when you think you're schizophrenic? I know that's not the right term to use.
Like multiple personality.
Yeah, where he thinks he talks about a family member.
Yes.
Who's a little bit kooky, but he is
his brother,
that family.
His brother Davy.
Not only is it that, but it's also Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So you've got like the Norman Bates of it all.
Yep.
Where it's like,
roadside
isolated weirdo off of the main road who's been left alone for too long, who comes across as sort of like weird, but maybe secretly nice, and is actually insane and is like reenacting his childhood or something, and has a separate personality, quote unquote. So you've got that.
Are you implying there's something sinister about being surrounded by plastic memories of your childhood?
No,
carefully.
I would never imply that in the room of a man with countless action figures. They all start singing. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds so much worse when you say a man.
Would you prefer that I refer to you as a boy?
No, it just really puts it into perspective when you say it that way.
Well, we've got the Norman Bates of it all, and then crossed with a little bit of Carrie.
Yes.
With the telekinesis, throwing things around. Leatherface with the look a little bit.
Also, I feel like between the two of them, I feel like this one character is every member of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre family but one person.
Yes. Yes, I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, so you've got 3 or 4 things, and then like you said, they bring Carrie into the mix for some reason, and not only is it a
that one must have been a cocaine thought, right?
I guess originally it was supposed to be that the mannequins were just haunted, and then
that's where I thought it was going to go at the beginning when he goes in and there's just creepy mannequins that are set up like a man trap. Instead of a mouse trap, it's like a trap for dudes where one of them looks like it might be a pretty lady under a blanket just innocently asleep in an abandoned gas station, and a dude named Woody goes in and is like, hello miss, hello, and kind of like does a little like ooh, struts up to it, and then these fucking mannequins just start popping out of crevices to laugh at him. It was amazing, but I really thought, I was like, oh, this is going to be Haunted Mannequins, the movie.
Yeah. I think you could probably, if you wanted to be really generous, you could probably say maybe that is still what it is. But it is close. It seems to be some sort of telekinetic ability.
Yes.
Supernatural ability, we'll say.
Yes.
That is, so like, would you go into this thinking, okay, masked killer, roadside attraction, yada, 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 mannequins, that's pretty creepy. I wonder how what he rigged up to put a pipe through a guy's back. That's fun. Yeah. And then it's like, oh no, it's magic.
Yeah.
And on top of everything else.
Yes.
That's what really got me with this movie. It's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, let's just put 5 things together, and I think it makes it's one of those things where by taking 4 things that previously existed and mushing them together, you create a 5th new thing. What did you think of Tourist Trap, Amanda?
You know, I didn't know how I felt about it when we watched it last night.
Oh, I didn't even mention House of Wax. It's like basically House of Wax.
Yeah, it's basically House of Wax. So I think part of it for me was I was going into this, and we just covered House of Wax, and so I was kind of comparing it to that a little bit more, and so we went through this movie, and I was like, I don't think I know what I just watched. And so I watched it again today.
Excellent. And
I think I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's very silly.
Oh, incredibly silly.
Like it's I think I enjoyed it more the second time through because I knew not to try to make it make sense.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't like the first time through I was kind of, you know, we're doing this for the podcast. And so I'm going through it and thinking like, are we supposed to feel this way? Is this trying to do something like this?
Critical analysis. Yes.
I mean, an attempt at it, at least what little I can do. And then this time today, I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to let this happen to me. And then I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. Yeah. Like this is really silly and fun and surprisingly funny at a lot of moments.
Yeah.
Like the Crackers interlude where he's just like set up a mannequin and is talking to it and keeps like, He'll say something and the mannequin repeats it back to him, and then the mannequin will say something and he repeats it back, and he's like feeding it crackers and her head falls off, and I was like, what is this doing here? Yeah. Other than that, it's insane.
Yeah, I think the thing that makes this, if you think that this movie works, I think the thing that makes it work is that first of all, Chuck Connors, who is, I think, most famously known as the Rifleman from TV. But he's been in a ton of stuff, a lot of TV, a lot of Westerns.
Yeah.
this is very much not something he was known for. And I guess apparently he was kind of hoping this would give his career like a Boris Karloff, late period Boris Karloff bump. Unfortunately, didn't happen.
Yeah.
There's a lot of other bumps he got into on the movie, though. He is like completely game.
Yeah.
Like he looks like he's having a great time.
He is like chewing scenery constantly, and his character is given these kind of long monologues where he gets to talk about his tragic past and how sad and lonely he is on the one hand, and then on the other hand he's in these insane costumes just like a gibbering madman in a room. So he's fantastic. I think if you had a lesser actor or someone who was less willing to commit to the bit in that role, it wouldn't have worked.
Yeah.
Like I really feel like he's the key of having that certain type of presence and those certain mannerisms and the willingness to just go real weird with it.
Yeah.
If he had taken this like way too like, oh no, I'm going to play it really seriously or something, I feel like it probably wouldn't have worked.
Yeah, he seems to get it. And in these movies, that's very important. Like there's another, one of my other favorite movies that I would say, I don't know if this is a subgenre, but it's these movies that are kind of Texas Chainsaw adjacent.
Yeah.
Motel Hell, which is one of the most ridiculous movies you'll ever see. But at the center of it is Rory Calhoun, who's an older actor who is just 100% in.
Yeah.
Like you can tell he just like he gets it.
Yeah.
He's here for the ride. So, and that's why the movie works.
Yeah.
Stephen King talks about Tourist Trap in his book Danse Macabre.
Yeah.
And he thinks that Chuck Connors was miscast.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And
because I know he loves this movie.
He does.
Yeah.
It's I believe his final word on it is like, despite Connors not being right, it works. Like the movie works. Yeah.
Interesting. I wonder what his objections were.
Yeah.
I'll have to go pick that up.
I can't remember exactly
reread
what it is,
that. It's been a long time.
Did you like that book?
It's been so long since I read it. I don't remember a ton of it.
I was really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
And then I got it in an audiobook and I have not finished it. And I got it probably like 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know what it was about it, but it just I think I was looking for more than just Stephen King being like, yeah, and then in 1963 they came out with this Alien movie. This one wasn't very good. I'm like, oh,
it is really less of like a memoir or a guide and more of just him sort of expounding on.
Yeah, I think I was hoping for something closer to what his writing book is like, where it's like a little theory in there.
Right.
Or like these are movies that I think do this or whatever.
Or even something a little more of like a memoir-ish.
Yeah.
Like these are the things that have influenced me. And
yeah, speaking of things done on cocaine, probably. What if I just talk about horror movies for 700 pages?
Exactly. I think that's
yeah,
probably
sure,
what
Steven.
it was.
Yeah. Whatever.
At that point in his career, he's printing money, so he gets to do what he wants.
But yeah, I think that Chuck Connors being all in is one of the things that works. And I think that goes to the rest of everybody involved. Like the whole movie feels like they know what they're doing. Like they know the movie they're making, and they seem to be having a good time making it.
But you do have to let it, like as a viewer, you have to be willing to let go.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Like you can't approach it the way I tried to at first, which was like, I'm paying attention to the characters and their motivations. It's like, no, this really is what a lot of like movie critics back in the day used to talk about as like a horrible movie, where it's just an inexplicable group of teens where you get no background on them and no further details other than these two are married, these two are dating, then there's her.
Were they married? I didn't realize two of them were married.
I think I only caught that because oh my god, and I just keep thinking Chuck Connors, what's his name, Mr. Slauson, asks two of them, I think it's Becky and Jerry are married. Because he says something to her like, how long have you been married? And she says, a couple of years. And he said, well, you be good. It's a wife's job to take care of her husband.
Right.
And I was like, excuse me?
Well, which is a weird line to say until you find out why.
Yes. Yes.
That's really funny because watching this, you watch enough of these movies from this era that have this setup, and you get used to the idea that these people are in their like late 20s. They're probably supposed to be like 19.
Right.
But you saying that makes me very unsure of how old anybody is supposed to be.
Well, Jerry says he's a law student.
Okay, so he's
say older than 22, younger than 27.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere in the mid-20s.
Okay, so they probably got married early.
Yeah, which I think back in the 70s was
it's
more
probably
common.
Their first marriage, you know.
Their first marriage was cocaine.
I think one of the other things that makes this work is, weirdly enough, the fact that they never try to explain any of the supernatural stuff. Because, like, I think, you know, this is... on paper, this is basically Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with like Shit Kicker, House of Wax, and those two things together, whatever. Not really that interesting, frankly. But when you add in the supernatural thing, and then you get to the last scene in the movie,
where you skip straight there.
Well, just for reference, but we don't have to talk about it in depth right now. But like it's so friggin' weird. Yeah. And they have allowed themselves to kind of, there's like all bets are off, so they can kind of do whatever they want. Yeah. And it allows them to kind of just dial up the creepiness. Yeah. You know, because they do a lot of stuff in this where they've got, you know, the eyes and the mannequins will move and stuff. Yeah. The thing I thought was really cool is every now and then they'll cut in a real person instead of one of the mannequins. Yeah. And also, we are saying mannequins. They're supposed to be wax figures.
Yeah, they're definitely mannequins.
But clearly, they didn't have the budget that Warner Brothers production starring Vincent Price, House of Wax had. Yeah, no. So these quote-unquote wax figures are just
absolutely
mannequins.
Just store mannequins.
It would not surprise me if Charles Band bought a department store's worth of mannequins very cheap and was like, okay, what can we do with these?
Yeah, a store was closing and liquidating their inventory, and they were just like, great, we'll take your mannequins.
But they, you know, a lesser movie, I think, would be like, okay, we got some mannequins, you know, let's kind of make them creepy. Yeah. This movie goes out of its way to play tricks on you, on when you're not sure what you're looking at in certain scenes and stuff. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and there's a couple of the mannequins that are supposed to be mechanized.
Yeah,
and they're definitely just a dude in a costume. But it works in the context of this because they look kind of janky, like what you would find at a roadside attraction. Yeah, and so the sort of silly costume of the soldier, the Civil War soldier or Davy Crockett, and then having it be just like a guy lifting the gun and shooting it, it looks weird enough that you're like, yeah, I buy this. Yeah. I've probably seen something like this at like a boardwalk attraction or something.
Isn't it interesting how we as humans, I assume.
You're assuming everyone listening to this is human.
Oh, yeah. Maybe we're into the I do put the show on for my dog when I leave the house. And he tends to leave the room.
Aww.
But, isn't it interesting that you can spot it immediately when it's a person? Yeah. Like, they're not doing anything particularly. They're trying to stay still. Yep. But like, as soon as you see that like slight shudder of someone trying to stay still who is just kind of like wobbling a bit, you know immediately it's a person. Yeah. It's just an interesting thing that the human eye can pick that out, like that uncanny valley things. Like, oh, exactly, I can pick that up very easily.
And I think that's what makes movies like this work, at least in a kind of scary, creepy way, because our brains are so good at subconsciously recognizing what is actually a person and what is not, that it's unsettling to see something that comes close or something that mixes the two. Like, that's the scariest thing. Yeah. Not the thing that looks obviously like a mannequin or is obviously just a person. It's those quick moments in the middle where you're not quite sure. Or part of it looks like a mannequin and part of it looks like a person. Right. Like, those are the things that will stick in your mind.
Yeah. And that, you know, when they have... Well, we'll talk about the end later. Anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, Davy, the killer.
Yes.
Is the setup is very much modeled like Norman and Mrs. Bates, but it's Slosson's brother Davy. I got confused because the way he talks about everything.
Yes.
It sounds like he has two brothers. Because he says, my brother is the one who is the master at making all these sculptures, but he moved off to New York or Paris or something to work on the wax figures. And then when the girl, whoever goes to she sees the house. She goes, who's down there? There's a light on. They go, oh, that's probably just Davy.
Yeah. Well, then he jokes and he says, oh, Davy Crockett. Who did you think? Ha ha. And he tries to sort of pivot away from it. I think it's supposed to be that he's, covering for the fact that Davy has not moved away.
Oh, I see.
And he's lying to them to try and keep Davy a secret and keep them away from quote unquote Davy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Again, this movie works best when you don't worry too much about the details of the plotting and all of that. But yes, it is a little confusing where it's clear that he's trying to lie that there is no one else around because there really is no one else around.
It also makes it confusing because his brother is named Davy.
Right.
But yeah, the look is clearly Leatherface influenced. The way that he's changing wigs and stuff is clear. I have to say, I think that mask is pretty creepy.
Yeah.
Like it's not just the mask, it's also the way he wears it. Because it's got that weird, it's got the cuts down the chin, almost like a ventriloquist dummy or something. And it has this weird movement when he talks. Yeah. But he also, when he's standing still, he's like, keeps his mouth slightly open.
Yeah.
And it's really fucking creepy.
Quite align with the mouth of the mask. So you're sort of seeing the mask's mouth with lips and teeth. And that's open. And then inside of that mouth, you're seeing his lips and teeth. And that's open. And there's maybe a tongue on the mask, but there's maybe also his tongue.
Yeah.
And it's unsettling because you can't quite make out like which layers are which parts of the mask and which parts of his face.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there are a couple different versions of the mask that he changes into. There seems to be a couple that are a little more stationary that I think they use for some of the more action-oriented sequences when he's running around a lot. And then there's the one he uses in the basement scene that has instead of just the lines around the mouth, it actually looks like it's two separate pieces. And so he does a lot of talking in
that the
scene.
one? That's the one that has like the sideburns, right?
I think so, yeah. He's dressed up. He's in like a top hat and a suit. I think that one is designed so that it's easier for him to talk because he kind of talks at length wearing it in that scene.
Yeah, and he's got a cool voice. He makes himself a weird voice, which is fun.
His creepy Davy voice is awesome. And there are moments where he's either just off screen, but you kind of know he's there, or people are moving around and they can't see him, and he's sort of muttering to himself, and it's not fully intelligible. Like, you can almost make out what he's saying, but not quite. And it might just be gibberish and not real sentences at all, but it's in that voice. Yeah. And it's so creepy. It sounds like a garbled voice coming over a phone.
Yes.
Like
it does.
It's really eerie. It's what, like, the way they use sound in this movie is one of my favorite things. Yeah. With the breathy kind of chorus of mannequins.
The mannequin chorus is very strange.
All dolls laughing.
It's really funny how every now and then they'll just cut to a bunch of mannequins just going like, ha!
And all the mouths drop open.
And it's really freaking weird.
Or the ones just going, ha!
Yeah.
Ha! In the background.
Like, they do. I think, I don't know how much of that is sound effects and how much of that is the music, like how much is built into the music. Yeah. But it works really well.
Yeah,
and
it's great.
A really creepy effect. I think, David Schmeller, is that his name? I think that's his name, is not Tobe Hooper.
Right.
And I think there are some scenes where that is very apparent, where like I found the basement scene where Becky and Jerry are both tied up and there's the girl who's on the slab there.
Yes, yeah.
They kind of shoot that from like a wide shot, that like a wide master shot, and they just hold on that for a long time. And I just keep thinking like, I I know they're doing this because they got to get like everybody in frame, but this is not very dynamic, and not cutting away from this makes it feel very amateurish.
Right, because then it's just a bunch of people in a basement.
Yeah, and then he moves over to the stair. It's really interesting when you see how certain things. Again, you watch enough movies, you recognize how certain framings only work for certain things. You know.
Yeah.
And I was just that whole time I was thinking, like, man, I think Tobe Hooper would have obviously handled this stuff a bit better in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But that being said, I think that basement sequence is pretty fucking freaky. When he's putting the plaster on this heretofore unnamed fourth girl.
Yes. So
which just happens to be there.
Right. Well, one of the scariest things about that scene is Davey brings Jerry and Becky down into the basement and ties them up, and there is already a girl down there.
It's pretty good.
So they've just been here in this house and in this area, and there's already someone he's taken to do this to.
Yeah.
So it really emphasizes that, like, this is a regular occurrence.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dead bodies around this house.
And she knows enough.
Yeah.
That makes it seem like she's probably the last of the last group.
Yeah.
You know?
One of the scariest lines in this movie is when Davey goes over to her, the girl tied up on the slab in the basement, and she says, "No, please, not again." That is one of the scariest lines in a lot of horror movies, because this movie does not explain it.
Yeah.
They don't go into it. They don't talk about, like, what is she saying not again to? So he's already done something to her, and leaving that ambiguous and up to your imagination is much worse than anything they could have explained.
Oh yeah.
So
and I think the way that when he finally puts the plaster on her face, which apparently was actually pizza dough.
It did look kind of like dough.
It does not look like plaster. When he was putting it on, I was like, he's using a lot of plastic.
Yeah.
I think he's using too much. The fact that he's narrating it seems kind of over the top when he starts doing it, but it's like, oh, that's actually really, really adds to the thing, because explaining that, it feels really nice and cool and soothing, but then it's going to heat up, and you're not going to die from asphyxiation. You're going to die from fright. And I think it's very well handled for a death that is not necessarily cinematic, you know?
Right. And I think the actress playing that girl does a really great job.
Yeah.
Like in the moment where he's strapping her head into place and nailing the leather straps into the table, and she can't move, so she can't really even writhe around or struggle against him. She does a lot of work with her face alone.
Yeah.
And then the, like, moments where he's covered her face and she's supposed to be dying, and the soundtrack has amped up this heartbeat sound that's getting, like, more and more rapid. And she starts sort of tensing up and, like, seizing almost. I think she does a great job.
Yeah.
It's like, who is this girl? Like, she seems to do really well.
If I were to make one, I wouldn't say I would change this, but I feel like this would be the normal move. I feel like the move that would make the most sense is not to have that be some random girl, but to have that be Woody. Because it is kind of like, if you're just thinking like structurally screenwriting wise, right?
Yeah.
To have them get to this basement and find their friend who is stuck, obviously didn't get killed in the first scene.
Right. Or even Eileen, the girl from before. The first girl who gets killed.
Oh yeah, sure. That feels to be a little bit more tidy, but I do think for something like this, the untidy nature of it does add to the freakiness of it. Yeah,
and I personally like we were saying, the fact that because she's just some other girl who is traveling either on her own or with some other group, and she's just here, like the fact that it lets you know that this has just been repeating, that he keeps doing this, and he has been doing this, and after he kills all these kids, he'll continue to do this. That to me adds a level to the fear of, like, he's very practiced at what he's doing.
Yeah. This is a little bit off topic, but I was thinking about the actual museum area where he's showing them around, and it's like, this is...
Slosson's Lost Oasis.
Lost Oasis.
Yeah.
This is Custer's Last Stand, which everybody remembers. This is Davy Crockett over here. This is my dead wife. Over here is... It's like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, you're who? Yeah.
You gave your dead wife an entire exhibit in your museum?
Yeah. It's how much she meant to him.
Yeah. I was thinking the other thing that's very clever about the way they handle the mannequins and putting the mixing the people in and stuff like that is I realized, and unless I'm forgetting a moment, they never do the reveal that there's people underneath the mannequin skins like they do in House of Wax. Where it's like, there's somebody under.
Well, there's one moment where one of the girls says it feels like flesh.
Right.
Yeah.
But they never do the full,
sure,
reveal of that.
Yeah, yeah.
And obviously, I feel like that's probably also a budgetary thing.
Probably.
So it's a pretty clever workaround to be like, how do we do this? We'll just put some people in the background.
Right. And I can't tell with this movie. Is the implication supposed to be that they are bodies covered in wax? Or is it that he's making the mannequin faces out of the death masks of the people he's killing?
That's a great question. I could be completely wrong. Maybe that's what it is.
I can't tell.
Yeah.
Because like we were saying in this movie, I cannot tell if we are supposed to look at mannequins, like look at the store mannequins and think wax figure.
Right.
Or if in the world of the movie, is that what is happening? Or is it, no, they are just mannequins and...
Yeah.
Like,
that's a really good question.
Because it seems like that's what he's doing, at least with most of them. Like, when he kills the girl in the basement, he's making a plaster mold of her face.
Right.
And then he's recreating her face to use on mannequins.
Yeah.
And ultimately, he's recreated the face of his dead wife. And he uses that mask. He puts that on Molly later on.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's more what's...
Yeah, maybe that is what it's supposed to be.
I don't know.
Well, see, again, that's one of the reasons why I think this movie works so well, is because this movie is like a weird fever dream.
Yes.
And you're going to come out of it going like, wait a minute, why? There's people, but it wasn't, but they were mannequins. If we want to move to do we move to the end?
You want to talk about Molly a little bit first?
Yeah. I found Molly interesting because you're talking about characters. He's moved to many characters, and I agree with you. But the one thing that I thought was interesting about Molly is they kind of have her, at least the way I was reading it, play her as either being into or at the very least sympathetic towards Slauson.
Yes.
Which is a fun way to do this.
Yeah.
They never really do anything with it. But I think it's a nice addition instead of her just being like the blonde fifth wheel.
Well, she's interesting because I don't understand how she fits in with this group of friends.
Yeah.
Like, Becky and Eileen, the two brunettes, they feel similar to one another. And in a lot of ways, that can be just because they're just hot girls in this movie and nobody is given much of a character to work with beyond like, you're young and you're having fun and then you're here and it's scary. Like, but
what else do you need?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not criticizing it. I'm just saying. But like they feel like similar characters to each other, which also makes them easier to imagine them being friends.
Sure.
And then Molly is kind of a prude a little bit compared to them. Like, she's much more conservatively dressed. She's in like a long kind of flowy white dress and little kitten heels and a big white hat. And they're in like hot pants and tube tops.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like visually, Molly is very set apart from them. She looks very different and it makes her feel unique. And then the other two girls are like, well, I don't care what he says. I want to go look around. And she's like, fuck no. Absolutely not. He said stay here. We're staying here. So there's kind of this implication that she's the good girl amongst them. And then, like you said, Mr. Slauson pays specific attention to her when they're in the swimming hole at the beginning, and he kind of is there being generally creepy and lightly threatening around these naked girls skinny dipping in the pool or in the pond.
When they're skinny dipping because they don't have bathing suits, despite the fact that it looks like they're wearing bathing suits.
Absolutely. Yeah, Molly's the only one in that situation who was genuinely wearing clothes that would not have been easy to swim in. But he asks her, and only her, what's your name? And she says Molly. And then later when he's back at the car and saying, I'll help you guys back at my place. I'll get jumper cables or whatever. She's the one who accepts his invitation. Right. Very perky, sort of like, oh, thank you, Mr. Slauson.
And he talks to her.
Yes.
As though they know each other.
He addresses her by name. Yeah. He sort of singles her out subtly, or, more, maybe not subtly, but definitely he singles her out just in the course of conversation in a way he doesn't with the others.
Which is, it's really kind of interesting when you think about it, because she doesn't look anything like his wife. His wife is brunette.
Yeah, but I like it in the end because when he says to her, you're different than the others, there's something special about you.
Blonde hair.
It's because she was receptive to him.
That's true. Okay.
Right? Like, it made him feel like, oh, maybe this pretty girl kind of likes me, or maybe she treats me nicer than these other ones do, so that makes her special. It's like, no, she was just nice to you.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they kind of play her a bit like she's kind of into him a little bit.
No, I'm not saying they don't, but what I'm saying is he notices.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And that little spark of whatever it is between them, whether it's camaraderie or attraction, that's what makes him think she's special, right? Like, if she hadn't been receptive to him in that way and maybe kind of into him, I don't think maybe he would have picked one of the other girls as special who looked more like his wife.
I think it's fun, and I wish they had leaned into it a bit more, because I think it's always fun in these movies when they give you a crumb of an interesting idea and you can kind of expand it in your own mind to make the movie better than it actually is. Which is my entire MO. But like, from a character standpoint, that makes the traditional scaredy cat, prude type character makes so much more sense if instead of just being like, no, don't touch that, but if she's saying that because she doesn't want to mess with his stuff because she likes him. Yeah. That, which is not something they usually do.
Whether she likes him romantically or it's more of a teacher's pet way. Yeah. Because, like, she's also got those vibes, you know what I mean? Like, she's a little bit of, like, a pick-me girl, just, like, towards Mr. Slauson specifically. Where there's a little bit of a, like, well, he told us not to touch it, so I'm not touching it. Like, and, like, but it's also funny because it means that one by one, people keep leaving the room. Like, people keep leaving the museum either by themselves or with Mr. Slauson, and then Mr. Slauson's the only one who ever comes back, and she's just like, gee whiz, where did everybody go?
I will say they do a good job of having him diffuse their concerns. Yeah. For instance, when he goes out to look for not Becky, but the other one, the other brunette. Eileen. Yes. He grabs his gun. Yeah. And they're like, you're going with a gun? He's like, fine. I would leave the gun here. Right. Like they have him go out of his way to do stuff like that. Yeah. So he doesn't seem like he's a mass murdering psychopath. Right. But at the same time, they also do stuff where it's like, Jerry, just you. Come with me to fix the thing.
You and I alone should go do this.
And then it's like,
Jerry went to town.
I just walked back.
Yeah, I gave him my car and let him leave without you.
I think he pulls something else the next time around too, where he's talking to one of the girls and he's like, I think she's out back. Yeah. Or something like that.
Like, she must have gone to lay down or something. Yeah. I do like when Molly has finally ventured out of the museum because everyone's gone and it's pitch black now, and she's hearing little voices, and like, again, with the audio in this movie where Slauson is using his inexplicable psychic powers to make people hear stuff. So they're hearing in their friends' voices their names. Yeah. So she's out walking and she's hearing Woody or whoever saying, Molly. And so she's trying to, and then there's the whole sequence where she's very scared, and then Slauson comes and rescues her.
Right.
And drives her back to the house or the museum, and he gives her the gun.
Yep.
And it's another moment where if you're an audience watching this cold, you might think like, oh, he's giving her the gun. Maybe he's not the bad guy.
Right.
Or maybe he knows who it is. Like, he knows it's his brother or whatever, but why would he give her the gun? And I love that it's set up from the very beginning that he has blanks. Because they have the Confederate soldier, or the Civil War soldier. I don't know if it was Confederate or Union. I didn't catch it. But he shoots, there's a whole routine where he's shooting the gun, and they're all going, ah! And they're like, how did you do that? And they're like, oh, I used to scare the bejesus out of all the kids who came by. It's like, yeah he's got blanks. Of course he gave her the gun.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even put that together. That makes a lot of sense. Masterpiece.
See? Cocaine can make film better.
Did you, for a second, not assume they were the same person?
I absolutely assumed they were the same person.
Yeah, it's pretty hard not to.
I don't know. This is another one of those ones where I would love to know what the reaction at the time was. Mm-hmm. Like, did people go in and watch this going like, oh, wow, who is this? What's going on? Or did audiences then also immediately clock that these two characters were never in the same room at the same time and they had the same build and all of that?
It is fun that horror movies specifically, I feel anyway, have this interesting subset where the audience can be, where they can having that knowledge and knowing that it's kind of obvious what the trick is becomes part of the fun.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't have to, not everything has to be Psycho.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can have a setup like this and kind of, know.
Yeah.
This is a movie where I think it's more of a roller coaster than anything else. Mm-hmm. So you're kind of going into this, I think you kind of know what you're in for as far as how deep the story is going to be. So I think it can be kind of fun to see how they play with that stuff, even though it's clear that because I don't even think they don't play it like a huge reveal. They do rip off the House of Wax thing.
Yes.
In a nice inversion of it.
Yeah.
Where she smashes the fake face, but it's the monster face, and reveals Chuck Connors' face.
Right.
That's pretty good. But it's like, they don't play it as this massive moment of reveal or anything.
Except for Molly.
Sure.
She's very shocked. But, I think at this point, what do we say? This came out in 1979?
Yeah.
At this point, you've got enough in the horror genre where we have done sort of a double. You think it's one thing and then it's another. There have been enough of those movies that try and do that pull the rug out from under you thing that I think you're sort of back in the position of, well, wait, maybe I don't know. Because at this point there have been movies where it makes it feel obvious that you know who the killer is. And then there's a pull the rug out from under you, reveal that it's actually not what you thought.
Right,
and so maybe now at this point you're like, well, I think they're the same guy, but because I think that, is this movie making me think that on purpose and then gonna wind it back and then it's something else?
It really turns into a Princess Bride poisoned cup situation.
Who has the poison cup? Yes.
I feel like in a movie like this, at this point, or if they wanted to do something really tricky, the subversion or the inversion would have been there are actually two killers.
Yes, yeah.
He's not the same person. It is actually, he has a weird brother.
Right.
I actually just watched a movie today. I finished it today, called The House That Screamed, which is a gothic horror movie from late 60s.
Sounds great.
It was pretty fun. And it was one of those ones where I'm watching it. I'm like, all right, this is pretty run of the mill. This girl shows up at a boarding school. There's a headmistress who's really a hard ass, and there's one of the girls who goes there is like the teacher's pet to that, who is also a hard ass. And they ended up, I'm watching it about, I'm going to, spoilers for The House That Screamed. About 3/4 of the way through, I'm watching it going like, what are they going to do to make this different? And they end up killing the main girl and shifting the point of view to the teacher's pet character.
Oh, interesting.
Which is something I have been wanting to try to do to see if I can pull it off, where you have a character who, it's not like a Psycho situation where it's a hard cut.
Yeah.
There's two characters, one who is ostensibly the main character and another one who is there.
Yeah.
But you don't realize is the main character and then move them into the position.
I just watched a movie that did that too. I got the second of those folk horror sets, and there's one in that. I think it was City of the Dead, maybe. It's got Christopher Lee is in it.
Dude, that's one of my... I love that movie.
That movie's amazing.
That movie, I didn't know that was in that set. Yeah. I fucking love that movie.
That movie, it was so good.
So I want to talk about that movie on the show eventually.
I was going to say, we should do that one.
So you watched the whole thing?
Yes.
Came out the same year as Psycho.
Yes.
Is that weird?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It's yes. We'll get into it.
We'll get to it later. That's another one. I don't remember how I came across it, but I watched it. I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
This is great.
One of the best non-Lovecraft movies. Mm-hmm. Anyway, what are we talking about? Tourist Trap?
Yeah. Do we want to talk about that final?
Yes.
Let's
talk about. So there's this attic.
Yes.
That we get a little bit with Becky, where she gets pelted with mannequin, telekinetic mannequin busts in her face. But this final sequence where Becky ends up there, and is he trying?
Molly.
I'm sorry, Molly ends up there.
Yeah.
And he's putting the mask on her face, and
yes, the sexual assault scene that I found very upsetting.
That stuff is all whatever.
Because he put his dead wife's face on this young girl and forced her to say "I love you."
Yeah, this is nice. The nice thing to do.
Is that what you do to your partner?
Sometimes.
Say I love you, or I'm gonna sick the mannequins on you.
Like that stuff's all fine. Whatever.
Yeah.
That's like a guy being creepy.
Okay, yeah.
Creepy mask stuff.
Yeah.
But then the mannequins start to come to life, and they do a bit in this, which again makes no plausible sense, but is fucking great.
No.
Where Jerry shows up, because so we have last seen Jerry jumping out a window and running away.
Yes.
So then you're thinking, oh, she's stuck at, where's Jerry?
Yep.
Jerry shows up to save her.
Yep.
Until all of a sudden, Chuck Connors is like, he's actually a mannequin, She's like, what? And then he just turns into.
He doesn't even say it.
I know he doesn't say it, but
it's even weirder than that, because there's a moment where he's got Molly up in this attic with all the mannequins. It's getting extra creepy and gross. And then Jerry starts banging on the door and kind of busts into the room and is there to save her. Mm-hmm. And Slauson kind of lets her get up.
Yeah.
And you just see Jerry in the door, like, this guy is here, and he's like, don't make me hurt you. As Molly sort of creeps across the room to stand behind Jerry, and she's going, kill him. Jerry, kill him. Just kill him. And Jerry's like, I don't want to hurt you. And Slauson goes, you hurt me? And then he starts laughing, and he walks up, and you realize that Jerry's just frozen in position, and then he just pops one of his arms off.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And she's screaming, no.
Yeah.
What is happening? It's like, I don't know, Molly. What is happening?
It's so wild. And it's
absolutely insane.
It doesn't make a lick of sense.
He twists his head off.
Pops his head off.
And smashes it on the ground.
Yep.
And it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like, they handle it pretty well.
And then he starts dancing with his wife mannequin, and they're like twirling, and every now and then the twirl, she's a human.
Yeah, and it's cutting to the other mannequins that line all the walls, and like in between plastic mannequins are mannequins that were once mannequins but are now just actors.
Yes.
Like just real people.
And then there's one shot of like a zombie, which I was trying to figure out what the hell that was.
I don't know.
Because there's one shot of like just a guy that looks like he's got zombie makeup on.
Looks like he's dead.
Yeah. I don't know.
No idea.
Whatever.
Yep.
It's great.
Yep. And in the midst of Slauson kind of having his euphoric insanity moment dancing with his wife mannequin, as you so eloquently put it.
Wife mannequin, not mannequin wife. He didn't marry the mannequin.
Right.
He married the wife and then made her a mannequin.
Yes.
So make sure we get that
wife
clear.
Mannequin.
Wife mannequin.
Yeah, or the order matters. Yeah.
Yes.
Molly picks up a hatchet that...
Ooh, like the band. Molly Hatchet.
Molly Hatchet. But one that the Jerry mannequin brought with him?
Yep, sure.
I guess. I don't know. And a lot of this can be hand-waved away by Slauson has psychic powers and can make you see shit. But yeah, she picks up a hatchet and she swacks him in the back of the head with it. And he dies. And then we're cut to...
Hard cut.
Molly driving the now operational Jeep full of mannequin versions of her friends.
Mannequin Friends. Yep.
Mannequin Friends, another great band and or album name.
Yes, that is actually.
The album All Dolls Screaming or All Dolls Laughing by Mannequin Friends.
Do you ever listen to Molly Hatchet?
No.
Man, no. I'll tell you. Talk about disappointing. Because when I was younger...
I think that's why I didn't.
When I was younger, I saw those album covers. Best album covers. Like, they're like Frank Frazetta paintings of Vikings and shit. And then you put it on, and it is like the most basic Southern butt rock from the 70s. And it's like, ugh, this isn't fun.
Aww.
I would go in expecting Manowar, and I leave getting Foghat.
Mannequin Friends.
Mannequin Friends, yeah. Yeah, it's a wild ending to a weird, wild movie.
Yeah.
That...
you have to just sort of accept it.
Yeah. This is definitely one of those movies that's on the list of stuff where... They're ones that I would like to just like show people. Be like, you know what? Coming over, Halloween or whatever, watch a movie, we're putting on Tourist Trap because I know we're going to get to the end and you're going to be like, what the hell did I just watch?
Problem is you'd need somebody to pay attention, at least somewhat.
That's true.
Through most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No talking.
Shh, the mannequins are speaking.
Ah!
Maybe that's my Halloween costume next year is one of the mannequins from Tourist Trap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The music in this movie was done by Pino Donaggio.
So weird.
It's very weird.
Yeah.
I have the album, actually.
Oh, my God. Of course you do.
Pino Donaggio, he did Carrie. He did The Howling. He did Don't Look Now. We haven't done... Man, I can't wait till we do Don't Look Now. I haven't watched that in a long time. Have you ever seen Don't Look Now?
No.
Good movie. And he did a bunch of Brian De Palma movies.
Yeah.
He's got a pretty recognizable sound. Like if you watch this and then watch The Howling, you'd be like, oh, okay, I can see his thing.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's something that bumps up the production value of this movie.
Yeah, I was
it's
highly...
It's a pretty classy soundtrack for the most part.
I was highly skeptical of it in the opening credits.
Yeah, it is pretty silly. Yeah, apparently,
and then it kind of as it went, I was like, oh, actually, parts of this are really lovely.
Yeah. Apparently, producer Irwin Yablans, who we all remember from Halloween, wanted something closer to like the synthesizer Halloween score, but they were like, no, get me Pino. Like he speaks no English, and he will make the music for my opus mannequins, telekinetics, and family. Oh, we didn't even talk about the reveal that he killed his wife and his brother.
Well, we kind of touched on it with
because they were whoring behind my back.
His gross misinterpretation of law.
That's true. Yeah. Whoring behind my back. Your own house.
A man has a right, you know. That's what the law says.
I think this. I don't know. Obviously, it's a shallow pool, but there's water in it. Is a good way to put it.
Yeah, this is not an A24 meditation on grief.
I would love to see a remake of this movie.
Aren't they remaking it?
I hope so.
I
hope someone's doing it.
I heard somewhere that they're remaking it.
As long as it's not
actually happening.
As long as it's not Charles Band and The Full Moon, because oh boy, those movies are fucking bad. Most people love them. There is a subset of people who love those movies, and I have seen there's maybe like, if you go down a list of them, there are ones that will pop out as worth watching based purely on the luck that they have quality people making them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the Full Moon movies are just complete garbage.
Yeah, the little I've seen, it's just like, okay.
I apologize to all you Full Moon fanatics out there.
I respect
anyone
other people's...
from the band family who listens to this podcast.
I respect people's right to like what they like.
Yes.
Yeah. But I don't. And you have bad taste.
I went to see Patton Oswalt it was a while ago, and he was talking about how one of the things that changed the most when he got older was he stopped caring about what other people liked and judging them based on that.
Yeah.
And then some guy in the audience started like yelling back and forth with him, and because he was like, yeah, I mean, if you like country music, that's cool. And it's like, no, it's not. And he goes, what? He goes, no, it's not. It's not cool. Like, well, what kind of music do you listen to? Hardcore.
Oh, God, of course.
Okay. I mean, you got me there.
Sure.
But it is something.
Sure, hardcore guy, you win.
Yeah. There is like I have also noticed the same thing. There's like a certain nirvana of content consumption you reach when you're like, oh, it doesn't matter if anybody else likes this.
Yeah.
Or if they like something that I don't like.
Yeah.
That doesn't affect me at all.
Yeah, I do think also our modern day of the internet means you can go find your community.
Yes.
You know, if you love something and you want to find people to talk about it with, and those people are not in your physical space, you can find them online. And I think it's easier to feel sort of secure in your tastes.
Yeah.
If there's other people there to reinforce, like, yeah, no, that movie fucking rocks. You're like, oh, okay, cool. I'm not a weirdo for thinking horror movies are great or whatever.
Oh man, I saw an amazing backfire on I'm on Blue Sky now. Oh. Shit, what the hell was it? Damn it. It was I'm trying to remember what the specific thing was in my brain.
This is why Twitter and Twitter-like platforms break your brain.
Fuck. What? Hold on a second.
Making radio.
I thought I had it. I thought I was going to be able to vamp my way to remembering it.
Nope.
Okay. It was a epic backfire of doing one of those things that everybody likes to do on social media, where they say something dismissive and. I'll just read you what it said.
Okay.
This person wrote, no matter how much this is very random.
Okay.
No matter how much you fucked up this week, you probably didn't do anything as bad as naming a band the Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
Okay.
And which is like, yeah, you're right. That's terrible. Nope. Like the Daddies came out in force and responded to this person with such things as, The Cherry Poppin' Daddies used their 15 minutes of fame to tell the world about the Zoot Suit Riot of 1943, in which Latino-American youth in Los Angeles were targeted for racial violence by a white mob, including cops and servicemen. The event galvanized the Latino-American civil rights movement. A parting word of advice. Hesitate before you talk any shit about the music of the 90s. The differences between your world and the world of the boomers were made during that decade. It made me so happy to read that, because that was like the two different types of people I hate the most on social media.
Yes, converging
like the boxing gloves at the beginning of Rocky IV.
Yeah. No, that kind of that whole exchange encapsulates why I am not on that type of social media.
It's people saying a snarky thing and waiting for applause.
Yes.
So
look at my cute little joke.
Yeah. And it's not to turn this into old man corner, but the thing that I find the most fascinating about that kind of stuff on social media is the people who make the original post can never admit they were wrong.
Yeah.
Like it's someone comes back and tells them the truth, or if they say something that kind of like,
they're being flippant.
Yeah, if they're being flippant or conflating something.
The original poster is being kind of flip and cute about whatever they're saying. They're going for the joke or to seem clever.
Yeah.
And then someone else comes back having taken it way too seriously.
Or not even that, just being like, the joke you're making is not based on facts. Like that you are, the person who makes the first joke or whatever never goes, yeah, you're right, I'm sorry. Or like it never.
But it also wouldn't change anything if they did.
True.
Because everyone's just looking at the tweet or whatever that went viral.
Everybody wants the high five. Yeah. Nobody wants to shake hands.
All right. Old man corner is over now. It's past your bedtime.
Yeah. Okay. What are your final thoughts on Tourist Trap?
I think Tourist Trap was a fun time. I think if you can go into it not taking it that seriously and you just sort of want a silly movie with some surprisingly creepy moments. This is a great 90-minute watch.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a lot of fun. I back it pretty hard just because it's one of those ones that falls through the cracks very easily and be like, no, this is one, if you're looking for something fun and you've exhausted all the A-level stuff from the era,
sure, yeah,
this is definitely one to put on.
Yeah.
That I think you'll have a fun time.
But don't try too hard to make it make sense.
No.
Or you will get frustrated.
Yeah. Yes. Which you wouldn't put on the list, would you?
No, sorry.
Regardless of how bad the list is.
And how much you love this movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on the list either.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a fun time.
Yes.
That is going to do it for Tourist Trap. Before we go, I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that on the day we recorded this, we found out that David Lynch has passed away, which really ruined my fucking day.
Yeah.
Like, celebrity deaths don't really get me that much.
Yeah.
I felt like physically hurt by this one.
Yeah, there are a couple every now and again that really hit you where it hurts, and this is one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though, as our friend Laura pointed out, he was 78 and had severe emphysema.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't have been such a shock as it felt, but it's still just a weird thought that he's not out there being his strange self, coming up with kooky shit.
Yeah. She also pointed out how kind of fitting it was that he died after the Hollywood Hills burst into flames.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think that some part of him would appreciate that.
I think so.
Coalescence of events.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As horrible as the events are.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you, David Lynch, for all the weirdness you've given everybody. And keep your eye on the donut and not the hole. We'll see you next time.
Good night, folks.